I have done a bit of a scathing review of this video this morning, but without really commenting on the video. So what I thought I'd do is, I'm in the office, I'm bored, you know what I mean? And I love correcting people electrically. So we're going to watch this video now, make myself a bit smaller. Whoa, that's not right. I'll put you over there, look. And I'm going to watch this video now, and I'm just going to tell you what in it's right and what in it's wrong. So let's have a look. If anyone don't know what this is, welcome to the carnage. Let's see what Nick's got to say about electricians or EV chargers, who's ripping us off. Which is quite clickbaity, to be fair.
Why do electric vehicle charger installs cost so much money?
I mean, you could say, why do EV chargers cost so money? At the end of the day, it's just a bit of plastic with a little PCB and a contactor in. So why do they cost so much money? It's almost like they're all having their pants down over a bit of plastic that is effectively just a posh socket. It's not got any charging equipment in there. It's just a controller to turn the power on and off and talk to your car a bit. So why are they so expensive?
Recently been on panels for everything electric as the expert for talking about home chargers. In fact, many panelists have often asked me and turned to me for certain questions on answering questions.
If you're an expert on chargers, start calling them electric vehicle charge equipment, because they're not actually chargers, but let's not get too political early on, yeah? But I agree, Nick is an expert. He's done a lot of work on this kind of stuff. He's looked at a lot of chargers. He knows how they integrate everything, and I respect his views on chargers themselves. And if I was going to purchase a charger, I'd probably watch one of his videos. But as it is, I'm diesel till I die.
And one of the questions that came up was, why do electric vehicle chargers cost so much to install? And in this video, we're going to be talking through that, because chargers can cost anywhere from £800, and I've even seen prices, well, 8,000. The sky is...
Yeah, don't use autos and electrics then, mate.
The limit. This video is going to be giving you my top tips on what you can do to reduce the cost of a home install, why they cost so much, and why you shouldn't be tempted to get your granny cable out and use that instead. Now, one of the major factors in the costs of an EV charger install is obviously the cost of the EV charger.
Which, to be fair, if you're going to do a video on this, you should just remove the cost of the EV charger and focus on the installation and the labour of the electrician, because the EV charge bit you're going to go into now is very variable. So we could just remove that and talk about the installation of any EV charge, which is pretty much the same, and the materials and the labour. But I'll let you have it. We'll review the old video like a proper good boy.
In fact, when researching this video, I trawled the internet of wholesalers, basically had a look at what the prices of the cheapest EV charger that I could find that meets UK government regulation regs at a UK wholesaler.
UK government regulations being that they can turn it off when they like.
And the cheapest one I can find is £300. Now that sounds not like a lot of money, but it was from a brand I've never heard of until researching this video. It's from a brand I've never tested, obviously because I've never heard of it. And for not much more money, for £450, you can find a charger that I have tested, a well-known brand, and a brand that is capable of using
the internet cables fell out. Whoopsies! But I would agree with what he's saying there. Oh, I'm going to probably edit this bit out now. That's a bit of a bastard.
Octopus Go Intelligent. So
he's quite right in what he's saying. Don't buy the cheapest charger. Buy one that will work with the network smart features of your supplier, because that is going to be a relevant thing, yeah? I personally use a lot of my electric at night, so offset it with batteries and stuff, but he's totally right in what he's saying there. You don't want to be buying the cheapest charger. You want to be buying one that works with current and future electrical suppliers' crazy software and requirement needs to get the cheap electric.
So for £150 extra, a well-known charger and that Go Intelligent will soon save that £150 back in money. So there's also other chargers, things to consider. You know, some chargers are tethered, some are untethered, some have two sockets rather than one socket, so you can do two cars at times. Some EV chargers have three-phase power, and unless you have three-phase power, you're not going to be wasting your money on one of them. But why do they cost this much money? Now,
everything Nick's referred to there about chargers, he's a very good authority on chargers, and he's quite right to bring all that stuff up. So that's all fair enough. I'm not disputing his knowledge of chargers or how they work, integrate, software, all that whatsoever.
The more cynical of you will think that EV charge companies are running a racket and monopoly between each other and price fixing, so their chargers are more expensive. Well, if this was true, which it's not, but if it was true, then the brands that in the UK, we have huge competition here in the UK. It's one of the most competitive markets. If there was a racket like that going on, someone would make a charger cheaper, and also the two big brands here in the UK, brands that sell the best, brands that are capable of Octopus Go Intelligent, have £150 difference to them, to the cheapest and the most expensive. Different brands. Now, if that was true, that they were price racketing, fixing prices, you wouldn't have £150 between them. They'd be pretty much £5 or £10 between them.
He's right. There is no racket, yeah, because everyone's in competition. That's a fact. He's right about that.
So that's obviously not going on. So why do they cost so much? Well, we'll get back to that in a minute, because first we need to talk about the labour element of your install and some tips I have to bring down those costs.
Here we go. This is my specialist area.
So in a minute, we'll take a look at the more complex installs and how to bring down the price. But let's look at a typical household install. Now, typically, you're going to pay...
There's not really such a thing. Yeah, and if there is a typical household install, it's straight out of the garage, straight through the wall, straight to the charger in not a very good place. It's the kind of install you're going to get off Octopus. And that's all they want to do, is those installs.
Around about £900 for an EV install.
Where did you get that figure from? Where's that figure from? I know Octopus will do them around that figure, and some people will bottom feed and come to that figure, but where's that actual figure from? Is that based on any facts whatsoever? Apart from the fact that some people do it for that. I can buy some bananas for 10p, mate, but they're not very good bananas, you know what I mean?
And if we take away the £450 of the charger...
Where did you come up with that figure of £450 for the charger? Like, if Octopus are doing an install for £900, they ain't paying £450 for the chargers. They've got some deal on where they get them a lot cheaper than that. That's a fact. So, again, that mass now, this mass is starting to go skewy now, because the big boys who can bulk buy ain't paying £450 for a charger, but your average Sparky probably is.
You're obviously left with pure profit, aren't you?
That's what customers think.
Yeah, obviously not. There is other things to consider on even the most basic of installs. Now, one thing to consider is, no matter how new your fuse box is, no matter how new your house has been wired, whoever fits your EV charger will not fit your EV charger into your existing fuse board.
That is absolute bollocks, and we'll come back to that in a second when he says something else.
Unless it was the electrician that originally wired your house. And the reason for this is simply because they'd rather not touch someone else's work, because if in a week later one of your light bulbs goes, a circuit breaks, something goes wrong with your house electrics, they can't be blamed. They've not touched the house.
What? That's why we have inspection and testing, Nick. If every electrician in the UK refused to do work unless they was the original electrician, one, we'd all get loads of work off repeat customers, yeah? Two, if I went round someone's house to change a light switch, I'd have to put in a separate fuse board and rewire that circuit, so I couldn't be blamed for it, yeah? We have methods and ways of inspection and testing of our work and being qualified so that when we go around someone's house, one, we don't cause problems like that. Two, if a light bulb does go next week, we can inform the customer it's nothing to do with us really, because light bulbs blow. And three, we're not out there selling new circuits every time we do a modification, otherwise people would think we was robbing them.
House electrics, they're more than likely going to split the tails directly near the meter.
No.
As close to the meter as they can and stay away from any existing electrics. So they...
No, that is something the EV industry created because it makes their life easier. When they came along in the first place, that was seen as a shitty, easy way to put in a new fuse board, not have to worry about anything else to do with the house, therefore your existing house electronic... So an electrician comes round and they would check your house, go, yeah, put the fuse board, you need some work doing, it's not quite standard, we need to tidy it up a bit, make it safe for you. But the EV industry didn't want that, so they come up with this method of splitting the tails and put their own fuse board in, so they could just basically leave your house as an absolute cackhole, dangerous cackhole, whilst maintaining that what they put in was safe. That, for years, has not been a thing. The electricians come round and advised on the whole installation, but the EV people didn't want to do that. They wanted to get away with that, and this was how they did it, by splitting it off into a separate fuse board somewhere.
It can't be held at fault at a later date.
No one's being held at fault for a later date if you put a new circuit in the fuse board and the pump stops working, mate. Because if that was the case, no electrician would ever make any money, and we'd be forever going back to people's houses fixing stuff that's nothing to do with us.
Now, obviously, as I just mentioned, it's also good practice to try and fit the EV charger, the fuse board for the EV charger, as close to where the electrics come in your house is.
Why? Why would that be? If you've got a suitably rated sub-main to your fuse board and you use suitably rated cable protected devices, it being closer makes a negligible difference, unless you're an EV Sparky and you want to be in and out quick, in which case, as I've said, they create this entire extra fuse board thing to feed their own pockets and be quicker.
Typically in a D&O cabinet where you meet.
No one should be putting stuff in a D&O cabinet like that. That is a shit-ass shambles. Even in that picture there, which I'm assuming your ass, Nick, someone's used a Cat 5 in chocolate blocks for a CT. That is the work of an absolute cretin. And that fuse board being there is not a permitted arrangement via the DNO. I know loads of people are going, no, it is, but it's not. It should be in there. If that head goes up and catches fire, they're going to make you report that out. If they try and change your meter fit, they're going to make you report that out. You should not be using that cabinet. CTs is acceptable, but you shouldn't be fitting fuse boards in there because it's shite.
Meter is where everything is stored. They tend to split your tails there and put a little sub electricity meter there and then wire in.
No, the EV industry does that, Nick. No proper Sparky does that. Like, don't get me wrong, you can split the tails and put a board in, but ramming it into that box is not acceptable.
Your EV charger. So let's look at what the actual costs are to put it in there and get everything done. So first of all, you're going to...
Let's not put it in. Well, you're going to do the cost based on putting it in there, even though you shouldn't be doing that. So already we're onto a loser if you're a decent Spark, do a decent job, because any decent Spark could fit that just on the other side of your wall, which I know is your garage. They'd put the equipment in there. But they haven't even been asked to drill through the wall. They've just stuck it in that box, which is bad, which is shit skills and shit tradesmanship. But let's roll with your idea of putting it in that box anyway, or nearly, or next to it in a outdoor fuse board horror show.
Your fuse board with SPDs. SPDs are basically fuse protection system. If you've...
No, they're not. An SPD is an SPD. It's a surge protection device. It's not a fuse protection system, but all right then. I admit you're speaking to EV mongs.
Already got a recent solar system, then you should be able to save a little bit on what the SPDs are.
Not necessarily, depending on where and how the SPDs fitted. If they fitted an extra fuse board with no spare ways in, and your EV installer fits another fuse board, you're going to have to put another SPD in or fit one at the origins of the installation. The regs are quite clear on that. They should be fitted as close as they can do to the origin, so that is not true. Just because you've had an EV solar system or whatever, I don't know, a fucking dildo machine fitted, yeah, doesn't mean the SPD that's been fitted into that extra board will cater for your entire installation.
Typically, fuse board with SPDs, about £100.
Yeah, from a shit supplier, but anyway, we'll let you have that one. You can get them for that price.
Some Henley blocks, about 20 quid.
I don't think the best Henley blocks, for 3 decent Henley blocks, I don't think it's 20 quid. But there are cheap ones available, but I've got my favourites.
Miscellaneous parts, screws, fixing cables, etc.
Cable? Under miscellaneous parts. Cables made out of copper, mate. I don't know if you know, it's one of the fucking most dominant copper metals on the planet. It is expensive, and you're not going to get much EV decent cable for 100 quid. You're not going to get a very long run, but alright, maybe if it's straight through your wall, I'll let you have that figure.
About £100. Now, if you need an outdoor fuse board...
If you're a fucking twat.
Because you can't...
And your installer's a lazy-ass bastard.
They can't put it in your DNO cabinet because...
Oh, they can't put it in your DNO cabinet now. Well, what's the rules?
It's already full of stuff from solar.
Oh, it's already full of shit from fucking some slapdash solar installer. Alright, then I'll let you have that one as well.
Then add about another £20 on top. And you're like...
Extra 20 quid for an outdoor fuse board? I suppose it's a cheap way to kill your kids.
For about £210 worth of money left over after paying for all that stuff. Now, typically, an electrician, obviously they might work for somebody, it might be a one-man band, but typical electricians are on at least £200 a day.
I don't know what the actual maths of that. A decent self-employed electrician, minimum, is going to want £200 to come around your house for a day and do a decent job. And I'll agree with that, yeah? Probably your average domestic spark, if they go and do a job for £200 a day, they're going to get away from about that job at maybe mid-afternoon. With it all done and dusted, maybe they're happy with that. I would say maybe 200 to 300 is more of a reasonable figure, but maybe up north, like, stuff's cheaper.
Some run a lot more, but typically around the country, about £200 a day is about your average price what you pay a member of staff as an electrician. Now, depending on the area and the skill level...
What do you mean skill level? It should be an electrician, mate. All we're saying now, we've got electricians do the job properly, and we've got electricians that are garbage, that are just EV installers. Well, there's probably some EV people ringing now, but yeah, piss off. Yeah, skill level, this should be of a reasonable skill level. There shouldn't be any difference in skill level of an electrician who's fitting EV charge to be able to inspect and test his work and do it to a high standard.
May obviously be a lot more, but they usually be able to install about 2 EV chargers a day. So about...
Oh, news to me, we can install 2 EV chargers a day now. You can do. There'd be long days where you wouldn't see your kids, you're getting in at 6 o'clock at night, but obviously we need to just all pull us pants up, be big boys and do 2 a day. Out the house at 6, back in at 6. Not seeing your kids never know quality of life. If they're not pulling 2 in a day, then they're a useless fat wanker. But yeah, alright then, mate, as long as you know what's going off with the EV industry and how long stuff takes, that's fine by me.
£100 labour for your install. Now,
oh, hang on, we're splitting the labour over the 2 jobs now. So to earn the £200 a day, you've got to go around 2 jobs. Fuck off. No Spark is going to 2 separate jobs in a day for 200 quid. And if they are, They're a bum scraping ass bandit.
Now we need to take out insurance, testing
Most people probably won't have the right insurance for doing this.
equipment, van, fuel, in time to price your job up, time to fill in the D&O paperwork after they've installed it, because
If they bother for 200 quid, because the kind of spark you're going to get that whaps an outdoor fuse board up for 200 quid ain't going to bother doing your DNA paperwork, mate. I tell you that for nothing.
more paperwork to do even after they've done it. Fill out the warranty registration information, pick up your charger from the wholesaler, all the van and fuel cost including getting all that, the possible chance that they might need to come back out to you, the possible chance that there may be a fault later on that they need to come back out.
Which will no doubt, if a reasonable spark is to be a fault with the app, the charger, or some other bollocks that's outside the electrician's control, they'll no doubt get called back for anyway. Someone in the room will go, my app's not working. Well, what the fuck's that got to do with the electrician, really? Because the electrician is only supplying the supply to the charger. Personally, if I was fitting them, I'd go, there you go, do the app yourself. It's none of my fucking business. But that's because I'm a dick.
Out to the pricing up of the job beforehand. But we also need to consider bad debt. Not everyone always pays. So
The deal on my jobs, I'll start charging coming off your wall. If I put a charger outside your house, it's getting bum, mate. I'm going to smash that shit off if you don't pay, mate. Be aware of that. Yeah? You people get Billy Big Balls about not paying for charges that are on the outside of their house. Boink.
there is several elements for an electrician to price in. So they're probably only making around about £70 profit per job.
If they are, they're a fucking idiot. Yeah? I'm getting out of bed for 140 quid a day. Not even for sweeping up. You get that in Aldi or labouring. If you're getting that kind of sparky around your ass, you're just waiting for an ass fire to happen.
After all these bits and pieces, and also we forgot to mention they also have to pay membership to an electrical body.
Yeah, we have to be in some sort of fucking gang like the NIC or NAPIT who don't do shit for the sparky or shit for the customer if anything goes wrong. And if you get some wanker fitting these things in badly and you try and complain to them, they'll tell you to piss off. But I'm not in one because I think they're all dicks. But yeah, anyone fitting EV chargers will have to be one of those scumbag organisations.
Most electricians are members of NIC or another various version of a trade body. They've also got membership of that to pay for. And if you're having a bigger install or you're having a long run that requires any groundwork, so
Octopus won't do it.
digging up of a driveway, garden, anything that requires any digging, anything that can't just be a cable clipped around your building, something that's more complicated, you could save a small fortune by doing some of the work yourself or paying a semi-skilled person to do it instead. Because if you...
I'll interject here, I would have no problem with someone digging a trench, yeah? Fair one, I would have no problem saying, the cable needs to go from there to there, here's where the trench is. Just dig the trench. We'll come to this in a moment.
You're paying an electrician to do these more, basic jobs. You're paying a highly skilled engineer...
Correct.
...to do some digging that a semi-skilled person can do instead. So maybe ask your electrician, if you're friendly with a local electrician, if you've got some groundwork, ask them if you just did that work yourself, put some ducting in and put the pipe, put the cable in, or just ducted it with a cable and they pulled their own cable through, what they charge just to connect on both ends of the electrical cable.
No one's letting you buy your own cable or ducting, yeah? If you dig a trench for me, that's fine. I will come and put the ductwork in so it has the right radius so the cable will go through it. I'll also pull the cable through it and set the duct up so that future cables can cut through it. There's nothing worse than a cable duct that's bent at a tight 90 degree against the wall because people just think it's a pipe, but you can't actually pull anything through it. So even on ducting, there's skills required to make sure it's usable, maintainable, serviceable in the future. They might come back and go, oh, we need a bigger cable, we need a Cat5 down it, and you go, well, you can't because when you've backfilled it, the duct's been crushed or it's at 90 degrees. So be aware, if you put your own ducting in, or your ground worker does it, then it all gets concrete back over, but it's got shit in it, or you can't get it through, or the duct's collapsed, or there's a problem with the bends or anything like that, that ain't going to be your Sparky's problem. Whereas if you let them fit the duct themselves and the cable and set the bends up, use it all properly, then it will be their responsibility to get it through. But I get you digging the duct is fine, but there are things regarding ductwork that can stop a cable getting through that need addressing that a Sparky or a very good groundworker will need to address. The amount of ductwork I've been put by groundworkers can't get cables through is immense.
You'll probably find that most electricians are more than happy to do this as long as they are allowed to specify what cable they want and then go and get someone else to do.
Yeah, I will specify and supply the cable. I will specify and supply the duct. I don't want other people to supply cable. There's plenty of crap cable around. Then you'll be bringing me up going, the terminals are burnt out in years to come, and I go, well, it's because the cable's shit or it's full of tin or full of aluminium or something. So no decent sparks let anyone buy their own cable. or ducting. Oh, well, maybe ducting. Go and buy some 50mm from a decent wholesalers and put it in. But I ain't letting anyone pull my cable in. Like, I'll do that. Then if it goes wrong with it, it's my problem.
Do the manual labour for the electrician instead, and that electrician will be probably more than happy to do that. Same if you've got to sort of lift a load of floorboards up and put it through a terraced house from the front to the back.
That's a Sparky's job, yeah? You pull your own floorboards up, cut for your own gas pipe and 8 cables. You do that. We'll fix it all for your charger. But why not just, that is a skilled job. Lifting the floorboard up, getting it all back nice. If your floorboards creak, who are you going to call back? The electrician go, oh, the floorboard's creaking. He'll just go, well, you took them up. Your problem, not mine.
Back. Again, you know, you might be better doing some of this yourself, or even lifting the floorboards up on the day the electrician turns up so they can just whiz their wire straight through.
Oh yeah, because once the floorboard's up, we just whiz the wire straight through. There's no joist or anything like that to deal with. But obviously you want a massive discount like you've done all the work for us, when just lifting the floorboards is probably 15% of the work that happens under your floor.
Electricians are really decent people, really...
We're not. Well, I'm not.
Friendly people. And
I'm not friendly.
Also bear in mind that you might want to talk about this at the time where they're running the quote, especially if they came round to run the quote. Some electricians can be put off by the more tricky jobs and are very difficult to get hold of on the phone.
If you can't get hold of an electrician on the phone, it's because they don't want to speak to you because your job's shit, or they don't think you'll pay, or you're an idiot. I'm trying to say, that's a fact. If you've got a pig of a job, you should be a decent electrician will come around and do a pig of a job, yeah? That's what we do. But the problem is, all the easy jobs get mocked up by octopus and we get left with all the pigs. So therefore, we charge more for them. And like I say, if we're not answering the phone, it's because you're a dickhead.
After they've left. Now, what is the reason the actual charger costs so much? Let's get back.
Because it's just a bit of plastic and a fuse board, it's a bit of plastic and a PCB. Why do chargers cost so much? I don't see you doing a video slagging off all the chargers going, why is your charger so expensive? You've been knocking them out of mould for 10 years and you still charge just 900 quid. Why is the Zappy so expensive? Why is the Gnome so expensive? That Zappy mould's been used for 1,000 chargers. Like, surely they've come down in price by now, but we'll leave the EV charge companies alone because we don't want to upset them.
To that issue. So why aren't EV chargers so expensive? Because you often see people in the forums telling you they got their EV charger fitted for £100. Well, they probably did, because back several years ago, a long time ago now it seems to for me, when I first got my first EV charger, the prices back then were lower for a couple of reasons. But
well, it was 10 years ago for a start.
Let's start with the main reason. There was a government grant that gave a huge whopping £500 off the price of your charger. So my £100 install back then was actually £600, but we're still miles away, even with that discount, from what charging costs are costing now. So we've basically gone from a price of £500 to a price of about £900 now. So why has it gone up so much? Well, it's basically to do not only with the cost of the physical charger, but also the regulations in wiring have changed. Back then,
still have to be safe and protected, didn't it? What's changed massively? All right, you get an RCB, it's going to cost you an extra 40, 50 quid.
10 years ago when I had my EV charger done, wiring regulations weren't as strict. They weren't as evolved to EV chargers. EVs were very, very new. The chance of me seeing another EV going out in a day was extremely limited, where now you see them all the time. So wiring regs have progressed to keep up the pace of EV.
I would argue that when they first came out, you had to fit earth robs and all sorts of shenanigans. If anything, it's now simpler and easier to do an EV charge because the majority of the protection is handled by protected devices that you fit straight into a fuse board and not by earth rods and complex arrangements outside. But well, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. It's actually got easier, I would say.
So they've introduced stuff like having SPDs, which basically protects the more expensive electrics of your EV charger from breaking. Yes, you have to pay to have that installed at the time of your EV charger, and that adds to the cost. But EV chargers have changed. The first EV charger I had was a dumb device. It didn't do anything special. It was just a switch. It turned on and turned off the power.
That's pretty much all we still do now, to be fair.
Basically it. EV chargers now have evolved to they have to be smart under government regulations. So they have to be able to be
cut off by the government when they don't want you charging your car.
Controlled by an app and be connected to the internet and be firmware updated. They have to have that as part of the regulation.
They have to be able to update them by firmware like Zappy do, so they can make your things less responsive, less decent, and take away features that were there when they was installed. But that's a different story.
They also have to have stuff like to keep up with the wiring regulations. So like pen fault detection, which stops earth spikes. They have to have RCDs and.
They don't have to have RCDs in them. In fact, one major manufacturer, Zappy, said the RCD weren't needed. It was already in there. Then it was proven that it weren't. So now you have to fit them. So in the beginning, they were saying things like, oh, you don't need an RCD, when in fact you always did. So that's a charger manufacturer's lies and issue. Personally, for myself, they've always needed an RCD because they're outside, but I digress.
Type B RCDs and Type A RCDs for stop DC leakage, they have...
Arguably, I'm sorry, not arguably, he's right there. B and A type RCDs are more expensive than other types of RCDs, and they are required. However, they are rapidly coming down in price.
A lot of safety devices contained within the physical charger from where they were just an on and on device. The actual physical safety of an EV charger is huge.
I'd agree with that. The actual physical safety of an EV charger is huge. So when you plug that cable into your car, there's a lot of safety factors going off, yeah? But all those safety factors don't mean shit when you've got an outdoor fuse board screwed to your wall and it trips when it's raining. So whereas the EV charger has become more safe to reduce limitations on suing the manufacturer for any problems when it's pissing it down raining, the EV charger kills you, the fact that you've got the mains cable and a board, a metal board, a lot of times it's an outdoor one, sat outside your house that's not RCD protected on its incomer, is actually made them more dangerous. But we can't sue the manufacturer, we can only sue the Sparky now for doing that, can't we? So that's a bit of a weird change in it, that the fact that the only thing you consider putting outside your house that's made out of metal, that has no RCD protection on its supply, is an outdoor metal fuse board, which to me, and has been since it started, is a disgrace. On your drive, at low level, where kids play.
And that's where most of the money's gone. But they've basically, rather than you buying several different devices and then strapping them on the side of your house and then having an EV charger, EV charging companies know that you need these devices for EV chargers, so they've included them in the EV charger.
No, they haven't. If anything, they've not upgraded them at all. They've made you fit an A-type RCD, you fit an SPD, you fit all the protection. They've actually forced that onto the electrician that makes their job more complex, although arguably with less bits and bobs going off. But that is not true. The safety features of the charger protect the charge manufacturer. They're not to protect people, really. And they don't extend to the supply, only the outgoing way. All the supply requirements for protection are done by the electrician.
So you might be tempted, why do I need an EV charger? I'll just get a granny cable. If you think that, then maybe say this video here that I did with eFix, explaining why granny cables are missing all that safety device and why it's important to have.
If a granny cable is plugged into an RCD protected socket, it's got protection in it. Like, you know what I mean? It's got a reasonable level of protection, so they won't get sold. So, like, that's a bit of a scaremongering video, especially with you with a fire extinguisher there. But I agree that, like, if you're going to have an EV, get a proper EV charger. Cheers, Nick. I hope that helps. I hope I took it apart there. I hope I've done it all right. But what I'm saying is, don't split your install up. If you get an electrician around, you try and split the quick, go, oh, well, I'll dig the old one, they've quoted it. Or I'll buy the cable, I'll buy the charger. I'd personally say, yeah, you buy the charger, that's great, mate. I'll put the cable to it. Then when the charger works, that's all going to be your fault. There are my points in it. I think it's a bit of a shit-ass video. I think the numbering's all wrong. I hope that Nick will come back and correct me if I'm wrong. But I just thought I'd put it out there. I've slagged off a bit this morning, but I thought it was fair that I'd take it apart in the way that I see it for electricians. And that's it. See you later, alligator.
Why do electric vehicles